The original conditional social distancing for a non-contagious epidemic. The four things too many folks fear facing. And they're not contagious. You can't catch them from someone else. But people keep their distance like a plague or a pandemic. The ABCDs of social distancing. ABCD disease. Don't forget your mask.
No, I won't be afraid. Oh, I won't be afraid. Just as long as you stand by me.
And it's time for another unbuckled bumpy ride with your guide, the stark raving LEAN-atic himself. I'm Jim. Let's jump right in again. Welcome to my podcast based on my brand new book, available on Amazon, Live Life Lean, L-E-A-N. It's a year-long guide to gratitude and our daily grind. The book that combines some timeless wisdom from a whole lot of the world's wiser people with the reflections, reactions, and wisecracks of the guide's author, me. And it guides you, the reader, through the simplest system for a happy, healthy, authentic, and genuinely grateful everyday experience. I urge you to get the book. Of course I do. I wrote it. It's either at Amazon or at my website, ampurage.com. A-M-M-P-U-R-A-G-E. But even without it, let's make next week better than last, our next year better than the past, and get started now with today's episode of... So, there are 4 basic grades in school that allow you to just move on. Only one basically says you're not making the grade, as it were. The other 4 are the A's, B's, C's, and D's of acceptability. A's, B's, C's, and D's are acceptable in society, unless we're talking about the highly contagious A, B, C, D diseases. The good old A, B, C, D diseases, well, they must be so infectious because folks run and hide. They must be contagious because it's hard to get folks on your side. Those good old A, B, C, D diseases, where once folks know that you've been afflicted, you can just watch their body language and it's easily predicted as they slowly back off and away from you, while expressing concern in their voices, of course, but not reaching out to help, heal, and comfort you. Well, that's most folks' choices, of course. Those dreaded A, B, C, D diseases must be so catching that people act like it's a pandemic and they go into a panic. I've had it happen to me when I was afflicted with an A, B, C, D disease. Some of you may have experienced it too. And this was long before COVID-19, before SARS and MERS. You tell people whom you'd think are concerned for others' well-being that you're suffering from an A, B, C, D disease, and it's like, nope, wouldn't touch you with a 6-foot pole. And who'd ever thought that that old expression would become like a national health and safety policy someday, right? Get it? Wouldn't touch you with a 6-foot pole? There were recently in our society so many coronavirus jokes out there. It was like a pun-demic. I mean, for a while we were all in quarantine, so I guess we were all making only inside jokes. Because what type of jokes are you allowed to make during quarantine except inside jokes? Reminds me of a specific COVID joke. Oh, I would tell you the COVID-19 joke, but it would be tasteless. But if you heard one epidemic joke, you heard them all, right? Because what do all virus jokes have in common? They're catchy. Catchy, but obviously not funny, huh? See, the thing is, the A, B, C, D diseases, they're no laughing matter because it's not contagious, but folks are afraid it'll affect them. It leaves you socially distant when what you need is social connection. And it can be fatal to relationships, to spirits, and most importantly, to hopes. We should have seen it coming. Pre-COVID, we should have seen it from the A, B, C, D diseases. Ask anyone who's survived an A, B, C, D affliction, especially Ask them how they were welcomed or received in country clubs and churches, in big family gatherings or small business meetings. And lots of folks will tell you, they'll tell you that many of the folks that they thought they knew, those folks just slink back into the shadows of, oh, that must be hard for you. And then they take another step, backing off and say, oh, I'll pray for you. And they take another step, backing away. Or even, sorry, I'm too busy to help. Before you know it, it's like you're standing there alone, asking them to help you babysit. And they acted like it was more contagious than the Black Plague and polio got together and gave birth to a little tiny Ebola baby. But babysitting is not, and it was not, what you needed or what you ever asked for. You just needed to not be socially distanced from them. But see, some things out there, they are contagious, and some aren't usually, and some aren't that much, and we think they are, and some aren't ever at all. And folks will get treated like they've got the Black Plague. Those are the A, B, C, D diseases. And those stats, they're staggering. See, real epidemics and pandemics are endemic to the human species and through our society through time. And though they're deadly, they're rare. Look back. There was the wiped out prehistoric village in China known as Hangin-Manga 5,000 years ago, and around 430 years BC, so 4,000 plus years later, an epidemic ravaged the people of Athens. Did so for 5 years. Estimates put the death toll as high as 100,000. That pales comparison to what we do now. Then there was the plague of Cyprian. It killed 5,000 people a day in Rome, around 250 AD, quite a bit later. Fast forward, the Black Death that we've all heard of had traveled from Asia to Europe near 1350 AD. There was an infection that caused an epidemic of a viral hemorrhaging fever that killed 15 million, sad 15 million inhabitants of Mexico and Central America in the mid-1500s. Also in the 16th century, the American plagues. Those were the cluster of illnesses, of Eurasian diseases that were brought to the Americas by European explorers. Some estimates suggest that 90% of the indigenous population in the Western Hemisphere was killed off. But you got to leap forward again. In 1890, influenza viruses wreaked havoc, spanning the globe in just a few months, killing 1 million people. Listen, there's been a lot. There was polio, the Spanish flu, the AIDS epidemic, taking over 35 million lives. There's been Ebola, Zika, SARS, and MERS, and most recently, our ongoing COVID-19 with over 6 million deaths. Pandemics are nothing to sneeze at. But some things, it ain't about the numbers, because you're not likely to catch them from anyone else. That's not how your number is going to come up. So let's play a catchy little game called Am I Contagious or Not? Ready? By the way, you can take off your mask if it helps you to hear the question better. So, contagious or not? Pneumonia? Maybe, but maybe not. Depends on the cause. Legionnaire's disease? No, it's scary, but nah, it's a contaminated water supply that's the culprit. Psoriasis? No, that's an autoimmune condition. That's when the immune system attacks the skin. You ain't going to catch that from somebody. How about bronchitis? That's got to be, right? Not as likely as you might assume. Maybe, maybe not. It's kind of like pneumonia. This is going to hit you where it hurts. Urinary tract infections, UTIs. They're not from the person that you had intimacy with, though they may have happened because of it, but that's not the same as contagious. Ooh, the dreaded cellulitis. That's another misconception. And that's because the infection's caused by bacteria that live on your skin. See, not everything that you think you'd get from hanging around others is going to rub off. But still, folks are going to freak about them. You want to know what people are acting like they're really afraid of catching? So afraid that they will socially distance, and have been and were socially distanced before anyone had ever heard of Wuhan or Fauci or Pfizer. They were those A, B, C, D diseases. And it's like, based on the assumptions, some folks have assumptions that one thing causes another based on the assumptions, then marriage must be a super spreader, at least for the A disease. When you put the data together, about 20% of married people face fighting it off. And your vulnerability to the A disease increases with age for both married men and married women, according to a study about the American generation gap in Extramarital affairs. Yeah, the A disease that so many folks act like it's contagious and their marriage might come down with it, the A is for adultery. And this study showed more than half, 54.5% actually, more than half broke up immediately after the truth came out. Another 30% tried to stay together but broke up eventually. Only 15.5% survived the break of trust of adultery. The A disease of adultery. So what about the B, C, and the D diseases that folks freak out? Like they don't want to take the chance that it'll end up, affecting their reality? Well, A was adultery, but B is bankruptcy. C is cancer. And D, well, now we kind of circle back to the A because D is divorce. Yeah, these are the things folks in country clubs and churches, family gatherings, all alike freak on. Like, oh, I'm so sorry for you, as they slowly, socially distance themselves from those who are in their times of need. Those who file bankruptcy, the embarrassment and shame that they may be wrestling with. Those who face cancer of any type because of the shadow of fear that they may carry with them forever. And those dealing with the death of their marriage, their divorce. Who are they and how many? Look around. Look around you at all the married folks that you find, and it's kind of like an Avengers Thanos snap. Because half of these marriages will likely disappear. Almost 50% of all marriages in the United States will end in divorce or separation. Adultery, bankruptcy, cancer, divorce, they are hard to survive and even harder to share our pain about while we are struggling to survive. I've been there. How about you? But we need to share our burdens and not feel burdened by what we share. That is the Say That Again quote of the day. We need to share our burdens and not feel burdened by what we share. So when others in places that you might not expect recoil or don't call you back to recheck that you're okay, it likely ain't personal. It's just the kind of person they're showing you who they are, not the kind of person who they think you are. And though that's not kind of them, it's kind of the way some folks are in the shallows of our social pools, so socially distant that they don't even know that they are dousing the warming fire that could help and drowning the friendship that you both could use in the future, just in case either of you contracts an A, B, C, D disease again. Because lightning might not strike twice in the same place, but adultery, bankruptcy, cancer, and divorce can replicate genetically or habitually. But they are not contagious. So when we hear that someone is facing this, face up to them and let them know that you're here for them. So earlier there were some bad pun-demic jokes. So there's another old COVID joke about pandemic precautions. I think it kind of went like this. What's the best way to avoid touching your face? A glass of wine in each hand. But maybe with the real epidemic of alienation and loneliness amidst the A, B, C, D diseases, maybe the best way to avoid touching your face is to have your welcoming arms wrapped around someone who needs touching and touch their hearts as well. Now, let's see how we can get that to catch on. And now more words of wisdom to wow your socks off from the Live Life Lean Guide itself. Today's episode from page 299. What the expert said: in every part and corner of our life, to lose oneself is to be a gainer. To forget oneself is to be happy. Robert Louis Stevenson. And what your guide heard? I know a guy who told me whoever finds their own life will lose it, but loses their own life for the sake of another finds it. Pretty sure he spoke from experience. So what do you think about that? Using the Live Life Lean guided system, what are you learning right now? Where are you earning that's not just easily handed out to you? Where are you adding to the world that you know is more than just about you? Now look at all that, reflect on it, respect it, be grateful for it. But before you navigate someplace next, please like, subscribe, and share this to show you care. Thank you for listening. I hope you're enjoying your copy of the Live Life Lean, L-E-A-N guide. Enjoying it almost as much as I did creating it. And if you don't have a copy yet, go on over to amperage.com or Amazon and get started today experiencing the amazing power of knowing every day is literally yours to be grateful about. And you need never feel unfulfilled again. I'm Jim Hall. And until next time, good health, God bless. And now, go get a little dirty learning something new. Earning what's not given to you. Adding to this crazy world that we share and navigating your way to something new and next.